One of the hidden blessings of this plumbing fiasco is that I've been outside on the porch in the early morning, and it is beautiful. It's cool, and it's hazy. I love it.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Honey Apple Farm. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update about our plumbing system having a catastrophic failure, so I have a lot to catch you guys up on. I don't want to bury the lead. The most exciting news is that we have a plumber scheduled. He's coming a week from today. It's a one-day job, and in a week from today, our house is going to be fully livable again, and I am so very excited about that. I will tell you that story in a minute. I have a lot to catch you up on, and the thing that I want to emphasize as I go over all of the thank yous I need to give out is that even though this has been a totally unexpected and rather disruptive event, it has also brought wildly amazing gratitude and kindness of strangers into our lives. So, on that note, before we get into what we're doing to fix our plumbing, I need to give a huge shout out to those of you who left comments on my previous video. Your support, your sympathy, your suggestions on how to pursue financial compensation, and also how to make sure that other people in the area know about our contractors' abilities was incredibly helpful. I cannot tell you how much it meant to know that we weren't the only ones who were appalled, and we are actually investigating many of the suggestions that you provided. So thank you very much. I also want to say a huge shout out to those of you who donated via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the last video. I am overwhelmed with your financial generosity. It is going to pay for a large chunk of the plumbing work, and I cannot thank you enough. If you are one of the people who donated, please know that I'm sending you the world's biggest internet hug. And also, I would like your opinion on something. I've been to castles and chateaus and stuff like that where they did a crowdfunding project and they put people's names on the thing that was crowdfunded. Now, granted, plumbing is not as sexy as like repainting the stars on an 18th century ceiling or writing your name behind 17th century paneling. However, we could write your names on the brand new plumbing once it's installed. I think it's kind of a cool idea. A couple of my friends think it's a cool idea. My mom thinks it's a cool idea. Peter thinks it's weird and we shouldn't do it. So I will offer it to you if you would like your name on one of the new pieces of piping that we put in the basement and you donated via the Buy Me a Coffee campaign. Please either let me know in the comments or you can email me felicity@felicityfields.com. And I would be happy to inscribe your name for future generations to know just how wonderful you were in fixing our plumbing. And if you think it's weird or don't want to be acknowledged, that's totally fine. On the generosity of strangers, I also have to give a huge shout out to our wine garden neighbors who have graciously allowed us to use their restroom when they're open, which is incredibly kind of them. The other neighbor I need to thank are the neighbors across the road. Now, they haven't been here very much this summer, and in fact, I had not met them before this occurred, but they are back from their travels and they have graciously opened their house to me so that I can shower and do dishes and laundry and use the restroom when the wine garden isn't open. It is an incredible act of generosity. So Drew and Megan, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have made me being able to live here while we sorted out the plumbing situation possible, and I cannot thank you enough for that. The problem when you work from home is that you don't have an office to go through during the day, which means that if there's a problem with your home environment, it's in front of you 24/7. So that combined with the fact that we've had yet another set of days where it was above 90, and Peter really does not do well when it's above about 85 or so, being able to stay in Tuck and Bailey's guest room for a couple of weeks has given him a much needed mental break from the situation. He has been over several times to bring me groceries and to do things on the house together. So thank you, Tuck and Bailey. We really, really appreciate it. The other neighbors I need to thank are Karen, whose house is behind us, for breaking plumber recommendations. I also wanted to thank Steph for making a plumber recommendation. And I also want to thank new friend to me, new neighbor to us, Eva. I met her and her husband last week at the wine garden, and Eva graciously dropped by a loaf of homemade sourdough bread yesterday, and it was amazingly delicious, and it's all gone now because it was so good. So it really has been a wonderful, people really helping out, people really making connections and suggestions. I mean, despite the fact that I can't use any of the plumbing in my house, it has been a fantastic experience. The footage that you saw in the beginning of me washing my face in the morning, I'm no longer having to do that, not since I connected with Megan and Drew across the road. However, I do still do that at night and brush my teeth off the porch because I'm too lazy to go across the road. And sometimes I'm doing it at like midnight and I don't want to bother our neighbors. So that is still going on. The other positive thing is that we are getting our HVAC fixed. So those of you who have been on the channel for a while, you'll know that we have not had air conditioning all summer because our newly installed mini split system stopped working in June. So the mini split guy is coming next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, to fix that. So in a week-ish time, we will have both working plumbing and a working HVAC system. Well, mini split system. Let me fill you in on how we came to have the plumber because it's kind of a great story. And then I want to talk about some other updates because a lot has been going on, but not directly related to the house construction project. So we had a plumber out 2 weeks ago, and he was the one who told us that all of our drainage pipes needed to be replaced. He said he was going to give us a quote, and he said he would be able to fit us in a few weeks' time. Unfortunately, he became even more busy with work than he had been previously, and his timeline stretched to, I can't fit you in for a few months. And so earlier this week, we reached out to a number of other plumbers and had a number of them over here, which was great because each one has a slightly different opinion about the quality of the system and what can be done to fix it. The plumber that we have chosen to go with has been the most incredible support. He was, I think righteous fury might be the best way to describe his reaction when he saw just how bad the plumbing was and heard that it had been approved by the county. He actually drove over to the county office yesterday and had a conversation with their inspection department and offered his services as a trainer so that such inspections do not pass in future. He also put Peter in charge with the county inspector manager, the guy who manages the guy who came out to inspect our property. And so Peter and the county code manager have been discussing what happened here, and there are also going to be some changes at the county level. Inspector manager has encountered James's work previously and holds a similarly low opinion of his work and is going to put some systems in place so that when his inspectors are called on to inspect James's work in future, they know that they need to go over it with an extremely fine-tooth comb. So that feels really, really great, and to have that ongoing conversation with the county supervisor also feels really, really good, and all of that was enabled by our plumber, who is coming next week. It's going to be a one-day job. He's going to replace not only all the drain lines, which are causing the current issue, but he's also going to replace the water lines, which, while not causing us a problem, are too small for the water pressure that we need in the system and have some not quite optimal connections that might be slowing the system down. He thinks they could cause a problem in future, and he also is available to do the work now, and that is very uncommon with plumbers. So we are really, really happy to be working with him. I cannot thank him enough. His name is Curtis. The company name, I'm going to mispronounce it because I've only ever read it. I believe it's Camphor. He's just been amazing. So we're really excited to have him come. So other exciting updates that have absolutely nothing to do with the house situation in and of itself. A Dad Days 2 is in the works. So if you've been on the channel for a while, you'll know that my dad came out for a week in April. He did a number of projects around the house. It was a fantastic week. It was wonderful to have him here. We got a lot done. We spent a lot of time together. He was able to pass on some skills to us. So we're really excited at the possibility of him coming back in the middle of September. So stay tuned. We're still working out a couple of the details. I also was honored to receive an invitation to help out at the Wine Garden on Saturdays in September and October. I have actually never worked a restaurant job, even though I worked food service at college. And I think it would be a great opportunity for me to learn a little bit more about wine and see what the industry is like, since there's a lot of it out here. And it's very convenient. I can just walk next door, and of course the extra funds won't go amiss either. So I'm really excited about that. I also want to give my friend Emily a huge shout out. Emily sent me a most delightful package in the mail.
It's mystery mail time. Well, kind of mystery mail. My friend Emily said she was going to send me this herbalism book that she had bought and decided she didn't really need, and I have actually had it on my to acquire list for a while, but she sent me 2 packages, and we only discussed one book. So, what might be in the other package? Let's find out. Ooh. It shakes. I feel seed packets. I feel a lot of seed packets. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh, there's more. Wait. Hold on. Oh my sweet lord. Nirvana has arrived. All right, what do we have? Ooh, we have sweet peas. I love sweet peas. Ooh, wow. Taiwan yard-long beans. Well, those look fascinating. Ooh, red lettuce. Peter loves this stuff. We have peas. I'm gonna have to start a second vegetable pile. There's just too much here. Oh, she sent zinnias. One can never, ever, ever have enough zinnias. And then what's behind it here? What are we attached to? What are these? Oh my God, I love these. Peppermint stick. I have these in the pink and white, but not the yellow and red. I didn't know that they're yellow and pink. I didn't know they existed in yellow and pink. Oh my God, I'm so excited about that. Dragon's egg, cucumbers, corn. I'm gonna have to go grow corn next year, you guys. I have so many corn seeds. That actually looks really gorgeous. I typically don't grow regular sized tomatoes. Peter and I really like the cherry tomatoes, but for that, I will make an exception. And then the last one is purple teepee beans. God, look at those. I love that. Emily, thank you so very, very much. And I absolutely love the card. It is gorgeous.
And finally, for those of you who love house history as much as I do, we had an unexpected visitor last week who told me a whole lot about the property that I didn't already know.
So Jack and Marguerite bought this house in 1945 from the Porter family, who is big in this area, and they had it until 1980 when they gave it to their son, Robert. Robert's daughter, Bonnie, stopped by on Monday last week, and I had so many questions, and she was able to answer a lot of questions. And Bonnie was off to college before her dad inherited the house, so what she remembers most are her grandparents being here, which was amazing because that period is the period that we know very little about. So here, for example, where there used to be, when we bought the property, a not well taken care of garden shed, her grandfather used to have a huge rose collection around the garden shed, and there were peach trees on the property, which apparently is not unusual. This was a peach area at one point in the past, and so everybody had peaches. And then, of course, these trees were not here, which we had assumed given the size of the trees, the small ones anyway. And of course, Karen's house, which was built in 12 or 13, was not there either. So you could see down to the lake from here, and this was all open. The barn, which was in the back corner, was obviously still here. And she said the driveway came off the road and curved around and went all the way to the barn. And she remembers, especially the early visits to her grandparents, the outhouse was behind the barn. Jim was a beer salesman, which would explain, perhaps, where the Pabst Blue Ribbon boxes that were used to line the shelves in the basement came from. He, during Prohibition, sold Campbell's soup instead. And Marguerite, many people who grew up here remember Marguerite very well. She seems to have been a really hard worker. They had dachshunds, and somewhere over by the stream is the pet cemetery where they buried said dachshunds. Now, we have found a few bones on the property, especially this spring when we had a lot of rain, but they came from this side of the property, so hopefully the pet cemetery is well and truly buried. She did say that the porch has always been here in this configuration. The house had black shutters when she came to visit her grandparents. The green theme, which we enhanced upon when we moved in, was not a thing in her grandparents' day. I was able to show Bonnie this packing crate, which is her father's packing crate. So her father was Robert, and Robert and his brother, Jack, were both pilots, which we had been told. We'd been told that one of them served in Korea. Bonnie's dad, Robert, the one who inherited the house when his parents passed away, served in Korea. And in fact, a couple years before Bonnie was born, her parents actually went to Japan for a year as part of his Navy deployment. That's where this came from. She didn't remember this, so that was really exciting to be able to get to show her that. I also found out who Kathy and Linda are. So there's these two stone blocks, obviously man-made, obviously concrete. That one just says Ferguson, which is the name of the family. This says Kathy and Linda, 1965. Now, she didn't know why 1965 was significant, but Kathy and Linda are her Uncle Jim's daughters, so her first cousins. She also mentioned that her grandfather had a bunch of pinup girls on the stairway leading down into the basement, which is ironic because he lived to be 99, Jack Ferguson did, Marguerite's Jack, and apparently he went blind in his later years. The pinup girls were long gone by the time that we got here, so unfortunately I'm not able to show you those. What is interesting is that Bonnie didn't remember that there was a door here or that there was a door facing the road. They always came in via the kitchen door. Bonnie was here for her 50th high school class reunion, so kind of extrapolating back to when she would have been here visiting her grandparents, we were curious about when the kitchen extension was added. The oldest layer of flooring we've been able to find is a green and white checked pattern from the 1950s or 60s, and a lot of the wiring in the house still had the cloth wiring, but she always remembers coming in through the kitchen door. So in her recollection, the kitchen was always here. There was no mention of an outdoor kitchen. So that gives us some kind of date on when this was added. I asked her if she remembered there being a stove here because we found a brick chimney between the ceiling and the roof line. She does not remember any kind of brick chimney here, but she does remember that where our fridge is was a hand pump to pump water into the house because early on there was no plumbing. Yes, hello. Are you excited by this too? No. So, and she said, yes, the stove was here. There was a table over here. The indoor bathroom has always been where it is now, which was another question we had. We couldn't think of where else they would have put it, but we were curious if they had done something else. But no, the bathroom has always been right on the other side of the kitchen. Her grandparents used what we call the sitting room that has our stove in it. They used this room as a dining room, this room as the living room, and this room as their bedroom. Apparently they weren't terribly keen on going up and down the stairs. The upstairs was pretty much as she remembered it. Some of the wallpaper looked familiar to her, some of it did not. She did say that the yellow paint in here was done by a tenant. That is not something that her grandmother would have done. And some of the paint upstairs she also didn't recognize, like the green in the master bedroom. So after her grandparents passed away, her dad lived here with his wife, Sue Lee. By that point, Bonnie was off to college. She doesn't remember a lot about her dad's tenure here. She has several siblings, however, who are significantly younger than she is and would have grown up in this house, which makes sense because when we talked to the town historian last fall, who was probably in his 50s or 60s, he remembered going to school with some Ferguson boys, so that would probably be Bonnie's younger brothers. Her father did live here until 2013. He had dementia in his later years, and so by then the family had moved to Clinton, which is about 2 hours from here. And so Dad went to Clinton for a while and then went out to Colorado. And that tracks with the obituary that we were able to find online. And now that we know those details, we're sure that the obituary that we found is the obituary for this Robert. Her uncle unfortunately died in a boating accident with one of his kids, and I think the 70s or 80s, and we did know that. I had found that information online and been told that story, but none of Bonnie's siblings wanted the house, and so it passed to her first cousins when her father passed away, and those first cousins are the ones that signed the paperwork over to us last year. Bonnie was absolutely thrilled to find that we are restoring the house and, well, that we are trying to fix up the house and excited to live here. She loved the idea of the YouTube channel. I gave her the link and she said she would share it with her siblings. I would love, and I told her I would love to see any pictures or photos or family recollections she have of the house. So we'll see where it goes. And I have her email address. So if I need to contact her in future or have questions or something like that, we can get in touch. And last but not least, I am actually leaving Honey Apple Farm on Monday. I'm going back to Portland, Oregon to visit friends for a couple of weeks. Peter Cam will be here for the HVAC and the plumbing install and any other updates that happen around the property. And I will bring you some updates from Portland as I'm able, and I will be back in early September. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you again for all of the support and encouragement and wonderful comments and suggestions that you made. You guys are a wonderful community, and this house journey would be significantly different without you. I appreciate you. I'm so glad you're here, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.